Very surprising news today to hear. I just can't believe, the cancellations. I already know that the XFL team, the Seattle Dragons, and they had, I believe, the best attendance of all XFL teams through, what are they on, about the third week. Their second week against Tampa Bay, I watched, and to me, it was not much of a game, but there was almost 30,000 fans in attendance, and up here around Seattle with the Seahawks, we went through so many years of, and one joke was that the Seahawks were always within one game of 500, and it was very true, unless you want to count like the years in like the early 90s, mid 90s, I believe, under what was the former Raiders coach. Um, his name escapes me at the moment, but when one year we were 2-14, so many years where the best we could do is 9-7, and then where we're coming up 7-9, 8-8, not that great, but not entirely bad. So with all this good fortune, people are really into the Seahawks, talk about them at work and everything. And so the Seattle Dragons were having good attendance, but the Dragons games are, we're not going to have fans at the games, and I'm not sure, haven't heard yet. They're going to have games somewhere else, but I know in King County, Pierce County, Snohomish County, King County, Seattle, Pierce, Tacoma, that gatherings of 250 or more are not going to happen for the foreseeable future due to coronavirus, COVID-19. Um, and the Seattle Sounders have suspended their season, and soccer has turned out to be a big thing in this country, kind of for the first time with this new league, and Seattle Sounders are a big thing. But now today I hear that uh, the NBA has suspended its season, and they say it's suspended until further notice, more or less. But I don't expect there to be an NBA season now at this point. Um, and I just heard a couple minutes ago that NCAA tournament is canceled. March Madness is canceled. People are kind of jokingly saying we'll have May or June Madness, and pick it up from there, And I was doing some reading, and I do believe that this COVID-19 coronavirus is going to behave like other flus, where we have a part of the year that is our standard flu season. When temperatures get warmer, it just doesn't survive outside the body. And I think even with temperatures what they are now, it might survive 30 minutes at the very best, like on a surface, on a door handle, and things like that. And what I'm doing is when I do have to go out, I have compression gloves I wear on my hands anyway, so I kind of pull them up a little bit so they cover the pads of my fingers too, and I don't touch anything. And I don't wear a mask, but I have handkerchiefs where if I'm ever within more than 10 feet of someone, I can cover my face even if no one's coughing or anything. Because around my relatives at home and at their houses, there's a couple older people, and I live in a building where there's lots of retirees or elderly, and whereas I might be okay, I would hate to pass it on to someone else. My sister's husband is we're worried about if she was to take it home and if I was to give it to him. So I'm able to do pretty simple things, you know. It's just not everyone's in a position to do those things, but we should all be able to do pretty simple things to stay clear of it. But that's the hope. But we just hope it gets dealt with, and but it should, end like a normal flu season ends, and hopefully by next year, there will be a vaccine. I understand it's typically a year to a year and a half to go through the tests on animals and then on to humans, and to be approved, have a vaccine approved that's actually effective. So maybe by flu season next year, if they can push that up by 6 months or whatever, seeing as how it's such a concern. Um, but so I'm really curious to see. I mean, I know it's not main NFL football season or Major League Baseball yet, but to see those canceled, I was just saying that would just be huge. And then I hear later that day that the NBA has suspended the season, but I know how much money these things make and how much people are invested in them, but ultimately they're no different than any other gathering. If we're not wanting gatherings of more than 250 people, that's going to have to go for them too. And, you know, the kind of unfortunate or, sad or humorous thing is that one Utah Jazz player was making light of, I think it was when the NCAA tournament, it came out they were going to shut down, making light of the panic. And when he stepped away from the podium talking to the press, was touching the mic and touching things and rubbing his hands around. And pretty soon it came out that he tested positive, and one of his teammates. You know, he issued an apology and everything, but it just goes to show you, what ignorance can get you. I guess maybe it's just too bad, but yeah, it's just kind of a bit of a shock to see just real quickly in a week or two, to where I first heard about this or started to try to even wash my hands more or anything, to see things like this being shut down and everything like that. Kind of wondering what's going to happen. I talk a lot about wrestling and stuff. What's going to happen with WrestleMania and WrestleCon and Comic Con? I guess Comic Con in Seattle was already shut down recently. A lot of the celebrities and whatnot didn't want to come, especially to Seattle, with Kirkland, suburbs of Seattle, having the that being the area where the first case in the U.S. was, and then we have the convalescent home, old folks home type of place where 23 people, I think, tested positive, and there's been some deaths there, because it's elderly and people with already predisposing conditions, just can't handle getting an illness, and they had to be quarantined, and in some cases, their sons and daughters couldn't even get in to see them. They could see them at the window or whatever, but they weren't allowing people to come in. Bit of a shock to your system to see it move so quickly to now major leagues, and millions and billions of dollars, and they're canceling seasons and stuff. How quickly that moved, but I think with just some common sense and everything, it can be okay. So the panic and everything, hopefully, will just feed into everyone taking extra caution, and we'll pull through it. And that's about the. Of course, with WrestleMania, there's already been words that Vince McMahon's gone off the deep end again, which is every time I click on YouTube, there's videos uh, pertaining to that. So that's not a shock, but about the WrestleMania plans being canceled, a lot of the matches or angles they have being changed or canceled, and they don't know what they're going to do to replace it. And so, and WrestleMania, they have all the other people that come in uh, and have events, and Comic Con and all the other wrestling companies, and have the fan shows and everything. So it's more than just WrestleMania that's going to bring a lot of people to one community. So we'll kind of wait and see. That community might speak up if no one else does, um, but we're just going to have to hold our breath a little bit and see. And ultimately, as fans and everything, we kind of just got to take the hit. We'd like to see our things that we like to see and follow, but uh, health and safety, takes precedent, trumps it, so to say. No pun intended. Um, all right. All right. I'll talk to everyone.